Hi, everybody. Chris Frew here with BioBuzz, coming at you again with another What's the Buzz? It's been awesome doing these programs for you each week where we bring together leaders in the industry to talk about current events and things that are making an impact on the field of biotech. We got a big event coming up. So this week we thought we'd bring some people together to talk about Bio 2024. And I'm glad to welcome Stephen Perry, CEO of Kymanox, along with Scott Arra, who's a VP of Business Development Kymanox. Welcome to you too.
Thank you, Chris.
As well as Tita Tavares, Chief of Staff at PDA.
Thanks,
welcome.
Chris. Yeah.
So let's just start off the conversation here. We got a bunch of people tuning in today, obviously, because with thousands of people coming to Bio, there's a lot of people going to be coming together. But, we're almost halfway through the year. So I'd love to start off with you guys. Just tell me a little bit about what's going on in your world and how the year's been so far. Stephen, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so I think 2024, there's hope. There's a lot of signs of life. And at Kymanox, we've had a bunch of different words for the last 2 years. We've called it headwinds. We've called it trouble, difficulty. Yeah. And so we have a whole list of these words. And I think one of the words we're using now is warming. We feel like it's warming. And of course, it's the chopping type of warming. So you get warm by mixing hot and cold. So some things that happen to Kymanox and our over 125 active clients have been amazing. I mean, just like you just want to shout from the mountaintops how amazing it is for these clients. Anyone in the GLP-1 space knows that's just been exceeding expectations by a large margin. But it's mixed with some cold, some disappointment. And if you guys go to if you want to be depressed for just a few minutes, you can go to the Fierce Biotech layoff tracker. And for May, we're tracking about one layoff per day. That means every day about one company announces a layoff, which is really sad and disappointing. So you mix those two together, it's actually better than it was the last 2 years. So it's instead of being cool, it's warm. So I'm actually pretty pleased so far with the year, and I'm pleased with the trend. And that's kind of my viewpoint.
That's great. Scott, do you share that? Your BD, you probably work with a lot of those 100+ clients. You share that same sentiment? Is that what they're feeling?
I do. I do feel that there's a lot of optimism coupled with some of just the little trepidation that you might see with some of those news announcements that you see out in the industry today. But I do see a lot of my clients are looking forward to the rest of this year and into 2025 and beyond. They're finding that even with some of this trepidation, there's hope and optimism for new technologies and new opportunities to develop new therapies for patients around the world. And so I'm finding that a lot of our clients, even with some of this economic headwind that we've seen over the last couple of years, we've seen some ability for them to either branch off into new opportunities and develop their own products or partner with other clients and other companies to bring new therapies to the industry. And so we have seen a lot of change and upheaval, but it's been in a more of a positive frame, just even given with some of the larger companies that we've seen with that, as Stephen said, those one layoff a day, it just opens up new opportunities, new avenues for us to bring new therapies and new exciting endeavors to the market.
Yeah. Tita, what about you? I mean, you probably has a great perspective too, because you have a lot of members that you probably hear from every day. What's your perspective? How's the year been from a PDA perspective?
And it's a culmination of all of these things, right? I mean, it's a collective for the industry. But I love what Stephen and Scott were saying. I love the themes because the themes do a lot. Meaning, what I've looked back at in 2024, just in a short time here in the 5 months, is I think mastery comes to mind. When I say mastery, I mean that we've gone through this turbulent time in the industry, and that's where everyone was going back to, well, what can we cut? What can we hone in on? What can we scale back on? Now, I think what's left is how do we master our craft? How do we master our technology? How do we master our partnerships, right? And that's where I feel like it's almost like, well, you know what, we just have to ride this out and, the hot, cold. But what we have to do is why not just make sure that our product or service is as perfect as can be, is as best as can be, whether that's implementing new ideas, innovation, right? So mastery comes to mind because I definitely have seen a lot of our members, a lot of our industry colleagues turn back to their, let's hone in on what we do best, because we can't serve all. So that would definitely be the theme I think I've been seeing in 2024.
I love that. That's a really good way to bring the perspective into it. I think about it like, we have kids, right? They learn from mistakes, right? That's the only thing they learn from. Like, so I think pain sharpens us, and collectively as an industry, when you go through pain, you get sharpened, to where, so the common theme I'm hearing from you all is that there's hope. We've learned, we're focusing in on some key areas that we're either experts at or the industry's really emerging into. I guess the second question I have for everybody is like, are we where we expected to be? Do you think collectively as an industry? Bio is kind of the mid-year point for us to all get together and check in, and we'll talk about bio in a second. But JPM kind of starts things off. Right. Where are we with the predictions that came out of JPM this year? What was right? What was wrong? Are we kind of on that track?
Yeah, so I'll kind of start there. So I was at JPM. There was a lot of optimism. I think there were some long-term concerns just about the global geopolitical environment. I mean, you have like all these wars going on and threats of war. We also have, potential out of control inflation in a couple of places. There's definitely recession in really, A1 countries like Germany. So there was a lot of realism at the conference, but the consensus that I built around JPM was that by September, so like after Labor Day, when kids are back in school and people realize that there's just a few months left to get goals done. And we all know in the United States that nothing gets done after Thanksgiving. So it's like you have that short window that by September, things would be back on track. You'd see the investment dollars kind of rolling back in, and that money can't sit on the sideline forever. And ultimately, the investment in innovation is what's going to drive growth.
Yes.
So if we don't have investment in innovation, we're not going to see the industry growing. So the lesson the consensus that I took was by September, you should do it. The early consensus was, or the early estimate was May, June, which is right now. Mm-hmm. And then the late assessment was post-election. So let's just call that January after inauguration, right? So that's kind of where JPM was. And I think we're on track, Chris. Mm-hmm.
That's
good. I'll just add that that's
yeah.
I mean, that's what I was thinking, was that early May, June time. So about now, just based on last year's tracking last year. Although I didn't, attend JPM this year, just kind of watching news reports and things coming out. I thought we were still on track for May, but yeah, I'm going to look towards September, fall, right? So I really appreciate what you said, Stephen.
I'm finding I'm seeing a lot more clients looking for support from a smaller perspective with either medical devices, combination products, drug therapies, the ATMPs. We're seeing a lot more of an explosion of opportunities and ideas of wanting to bring a new therapy. This headwinds that we saw for the last couple of years, I think, has really given us the impetus to really develop, as we said, innovation and technologies that are not going to be just the standard same old. It's really to address some of the concerns that we see with the products that are on the market today, what we're not addressing properly. And so this type of, let's say, challenges that we've been facing from the companies that are out there now, it really is borrowing new opportunities to bring new products, new therapies, new ideas to the market. So I'm seeing a lot more and more of that over the last few months, and I think it's going to continue through the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we're from a workforce perspective, we're seeing that too. We're seeing some smaller things moving. We're seeing smaller projects get moving. And I think that's indicative, hopefully, of the timeline that you both said is September is where people are gearing up to.
And Chris, there's May data that's really exciting. So just in the last week, you had $300 million from Blackstone go into a phase 2 program that was for asthma, COPD.
Yep. Yes.
J&J also did an acquisition in the exact same space. If you add those two up, it's $1 billion. Okay. $400 million from Bain went into this entity called Hercules, which is really exciting. And it's also a phase 2. So one of the things that I noticed, and Scott, you can back me up on this, is that our clients, our prospects, they were really doubling down on their products and kind of like like kind of mortgaging the future a little bit and putting these development programs on pause or slowing them down, which is terrible, because the reason I get up in the morning is so that patients can live a better life, right? And so if you pause these development programs for these orphan drugs and things like that, it's not achieving, why I get up in the morning, and where I think a lot of people are attracted to life science. So a lot of these companies who had a product, they just kind of doubled down, and instead of investing in a new product, they were like, hey, let's invest some money into cost savings for our current product.
Yes. Lifecycle management, ways that they could find better efficiencies on the developing of the product that they currently have out in the market. You're exactly right there, Stephen. I have, though, and I think with your data that you just presented, there is some new information around that part about, great, we're talking about lifecycle management of existing products, but now that we're seeing a lot more with lyo products or cell and gene, or even with mAbs, products that are monoclonal antibodies, where they're trying to bring new technologies and not doing the standard same old. We're getting out of that. And I think, like you and Tita had said, we're going to see something, I think, in the late summer timeframe, where we're going to potentially even see an explosion of investments from larger companies or venture capitalist firms, private equity, to really make these products a reality.
Yeah. And I'll add that I think we know how to manage or work through a faster pipeline, meaning we know how to work through. So say this, optimistically turns around right in the fall, and we know how to move quickly. We have just done that, right? So I think with all of this, I think kind of, I'll say we're in hibernation right now, right? We will come out strong because I think we know really what's in our pipeline and how quickly we have to get out there once these investments come through. So we should be embarking on some exciting times, but we'll just have to ride it out a little bit longer.
A little bit, Tita. I do think, though, just given what I've seen and the optimism that I've been feeling from some of the conversations that I had with both larger, mid-sized, and smaller companies, I think there's the appetite to really start being aggressive and move forward with some of these products. I agree it's going to take a little time, but I do feel just over the last few months, from March until now, I've seen a lot more of companies wanting to even take a little bit of risks. What can I do? We've kind of gone through some of those elements of trying to make sure that they could shore up those existing products. But now let's start to look at the pipeline that they have in their portfolio.
Well, we're about to embark on, thousands of people coming together. And I'm sure some of these conversations are going to be what people are talking about. So from in terms of the direction and these currents that are all flowing through the industry right now, what's your advice or predictions, like, for bio itself? What should people go there with the intention of trying to learn, listen out for? What do you think people are going this year to kind of take away?
Stephen?
Sure. Thanks, Scott. Okay, so if it were me and I was doing anything, I was in cell and gene, I was in just traditional biotech making monoclonal antibodies. By the way, these bispecific monoclonal antibodies are creating a new revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And so in some ways, they're overtaking some value propositions for some of the cell and gene therapies. So that's a really exciting thing. But I would say, if you're not talking about these two things, you're being irresponsible. I don't care why you're going to bio. First one is AI, artificial intelligence. Everyone has to be talking about this. This is all of our future medicines are going to be discovered by AI or with the support of AI. And just so you know, there's never been a medicine that's been discovered by AI. So it's going to go from 0% to 100%, and it's going to happen very, very quickly. And everyone knows about AI for drug discovery. I think that's probably the most well understood case for using AI. There are infinite cases of AI. So I'm a CEO. I keep ChatGPT, OpenAI. I use the new 40 version. This is the one that has the controversial voice that can read back to you.
Right.
And it is phenomenal. They've really made some amazing advancements. And we're not going to be replaced by AI, but you will be replaced by another person who knows how to use AI. Mm-hmm. And, Scott and I were in the professional services space, so we just have to be very cognizant how to prepare ourselves for this massive revolution, which is bigger than the printing press and it's bigger than the internet. The other thing that you have to talk about is GLP-1s. So GLP-1, Goldman Sachs, I think they're the one that first came out and said it's a $100 billion market, whether you like it or not. That's an underestimate. The latest estimate I'm seeing is 125 billion. That's 125 new blockbusters, all in just one space. Right now, Novo Nordisk and Lilly kind of dominate that space, but there's a lot of new and up and comers. And there's a lot of companion therapies and companion diagnostics that kind of go with it. So this is going to be a huge thing. And it's not just obesity. It's not just type 2 diabetes. It's heart disease, which is the number one killer, right? Also, the people I know personally who are on GLP-1s, they're happier. Their hormones are better. Their skin, nails, and teeth, or their skin, nails, and hair are better. I mean, everything's improving. I believe all drugs are a plan B. Yeah, my nails. Yeah, no, I'm not on.
No, I'm talking about me and Chris here with the hair there. That's
the hair. Yeah, your hair's doing great. Just there's all these crazy benefits, and you're seeing like new thing. It's going to change the industry. It's GLP-1s right now are changing the life insurance industry. They're changing it. And so we're bending that mortality curve right now. It's just insane. I do believe sleep, nutrition, and exercise or movement are like the keys to things, but you absolutely have medical cases where GLP-1s are just life changers and life enhancers and life extenders. And I don't care if what your relationship with GLP-1s, you have to understand it because it is a disruptor. Let's give one example. Catalent. Catalent was purchased by Novo so that Novo could secure production. And that was just transformative. Now they've taken parts of Catalent and it's in Novo Holdings, and then Catalent's still kind of Catalent.
Yes.
But that's never happened in our industry.
Mm-hmm. No, but in fact, there was that. I think there is some other disruptions happening with other CDMOs being acquired by either venture capitalist firms or private equity firms, which is also going to disrupt either supply chain production of both current and future products. To couple on what Stephen was talking about for those who are going to be attending Bio, my advice would be to be really prepared with what you're looking to accomplish there. If you're a large company looking to either acquire assets or even do due diligence, or a small company looking to either obtain funding, create new relationships, do a proper due diligence about what you're looking to accomplish there. If you're looking to look at potential partnerships, making sure you're talking to the right people that you want to talk to there, or have some background information on the companies you're going to be working with. Do a due diligence yourself on those companies or those relationships you're looking to engage with and embark on. It really will make sure that you're spending that time wisely. There's ways that we can always help out in those efforts, but I think for those companies that are going to be descending upon San Diego and Bio, before you get there, make sure you guys are adequately prepared for what you're really looking to accomplish. If you're looking for funding, if you're looking for partnerships, if you're just looking for the new technology out there, really understand who's going to be there and making sure that the time that you're there is not quote unquote wasted, but it's really value added for you and your company.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice. You know, it can be overwhelming when you go into a big, and there's no shortage of things happening in this industry that we got to focus on and talk to. So if you're not clear on what you need to accomplish, it can be overwhelming, and you could just meet 1,000 different types of people that are great to meet, but you're not getting your goals accomplished.
Exactly. And I think from there, Chris, that's the piece that going to the show, as Stephen had mentioned before, I've been to Bio multiple times over the years, and it could be an overwhelming. You see the litany of companies that are there, the states that are represented with the manufacturing suites that they have available, or just the large partnership in the pavilions that you may see or talk to. It could be an overwhelming experience unless you go in there with a good game plan of what you're looking to accomplish and making sure you're setting out to meet those goals. Of course, you're going to maybe deviate. You may find something that's a little bit off the beaten path from what you're expecting to do, but really try to hone in and have a good game plan and try to stick to it a little bit, because that'll make sure you're going to be the best. You're going to make the most success of that trip for you when you're out there.
Yeah, great point. Tita, any additions?
I love Bio for the fact that it just brings in so many unique opportunities, so many unique situations where your conversations, it's a pretty fun event in that case. But For me, I like to go with the end in mind, right? So the end in mind of, well, what next and how am I going to be supported? So if I'm going to, really focus on creating these, meaningful connections, right? But how am I going to, what's the rest of the year look like, right? And so how am I going to maintain those relationships? So really make it count. And when we say be prepared, that's not to take it lightly. I mean, the floor is huge, right? I go in with your sneakers, forget the heels, right? Ditch them because you literally have to go in. Go with the name, right? Go with the name to the organization that you want to go to. And if you don't have a name, go with the role. And you're just literally going in and saying, hey, is so and so there? Nope. But then who's the next best person for me to have this conversation with? And as you go down the line, right? I mean, it literally is a line. It's like, oh, they're not there. You go back, right? And you just lap this thing. But again, you have to have that roadmap in front of you so that yep, check, done. But again, I'm hoping to make this connection so that, by November, when we're ready to release this product or we're ready to have the conversation about our next step, right? We're calling this person, but I'm going to connect today with whether that's, I love it, academia, whether that's your, you know, um, military branches and all the services involved. There is so much there. So you definitely need to go in with a plan.
Yeah, and Tita, just to echo what you're saying, the partnering platform that they have, which is a technology to kind of do speed dating in a very efficient manner, and then you can kind of connect virtually initially.
Yes.
And then you can make sure you have the right people in the right place at the right time to have those discussions. I think spending a lot of time with the app or the web interface and doing your research and picking those meetings that you really want to go for. I think that's super important. And now the technology is so good. They've really worked out all the kinks, and the partnering may actually be the most valuable thing at Bio. That might be the most valuable thing that they're actually selling at Bio.
Absolutely. That's the thing I go in for, right? And then it's having those conversations and actually being creative on the floor going, I don't know, but I have this service, right? And you have this product and what are you looking at? I mean, that is when the magic happens, is
Correct.
just brainstorming and then agreeing to connect after and say, you know what, let's move this forward or not, or this is who can move you forward. But absolutely, partnerships is huge. And when I say, coming from the association world, right, PDA, is looking for, when I say supportive, who can be supportive next step is, then what down the road, what other events are these, individuals going to be at to connect at, right? Or maybe you author a paper together, maybe whatever it might be. Again, how can you actually build a meaningful relationship in this? Because it's truly somebody, people that you want to, say, let's get together and let's move forward on an initiative. So it's pretty good stuff that happens there.
That's great. So what I'm hearing too is it's a combination of know what you want to accomplish.
Yes.
Have a plan, because there's a lot of people there and it's a big operation, but also be in the moment because you're surrounded by thousands of people who are all there to solve problems. And if you're not listening out, you're missing opportunities for partnership, and you're missing opportunities for potential partnerships, as long as we're sticking by Scott's rule and understanding what our plan was. So we're not, going after every shiny object we hear about at Bio, because there's a lot of shiny objects out there, right?
There's a lot of them. That is true.
You need to leave room for serendipity, right? Just these happenstance things. And the networking events are great. So there are a couple of law firms that throw some really big parties. Maybe we should examine our bill rates, everyone, with the law firms. Look at what these parties cost. So thank you, law firms. You make Bio a really fun time. But just the connections that you can make there, and I think if you only have your blinders on, I think it's a missed opportunity.
Fair. Yep.
I agree.
Great point.
Yeah, that's great. Well, there's no shortage of things happening in the industry, obviously, right? We've talked about that today. We've got a couple minutes left. This was, I think, a really good preview. I can only imagine what the conversations and the content and the stories coming out of Bio are going to be. Why don't we go around as we wrap up this and tell me, what are your predictions this year? What do you think are, and it might be something you've already talked on, but what do you think are the top topics and things that are going to come out of this year's convention? Whoever wants to start.
Steven, start us
No,
off.
no, we got to let. I'm a gentleman, so.
All right, please, Tita, please. Yes,
Sure.
yes.
Well,
Don't make me
This
start.
thing was called predictions, so I got to put you on the spot and get predictions
Yeah.
from.
Actually, I'm going to bite off of what Scott said about disruption. I think we're going to see a lot of disruption happening only because I think there's a call for it. There is this, and I'm going to just put it out there that I think we're learning from this younger generation of, again, making it count, being purposeful in what we do, right? Having a goal in mind, being value driven. And when I say that, that means that disruption is going to happen in the sense that we should be looking to partner with people that, or organizations that may have once been competitors, right? I think if we're all trying to achieve the same thing, right, there's got to be some level of just, well, evaluate your risk, but at the same time, don't be afraid to disrupt and build those partnerships and be collaborators instead of, competitors. So that's what I think we're going to see a lot of, because we're going to have to push ourselves as just being the human race and moving forward. And really, again, if patients are in mind, we got to work towards one goal. And so that's my thing, is I think that that's what we're going to see. And there's a lot of conversations out there that we're having about disruption. So Scott, when you said that, I went, yes, let's do it. Because again, if patients are at the forefront, we shouldn't be scared about that.
Yeah.
Calculated risk, but
I love that. So it's not just disruptive technologies. You're saying there's disruptive partnerships that are coming out of that.
Well,
Yes.
And Stephen talked about it, right? AI, and we can't be afraid to use the tool, but it all starts with us. I mean, unless we want the robots to, really control us, I'll say that, right? No, it starts with us. I mean, we are the ones that are, really still in control of this future. And so we have to do it together. Otherwise, it could, I'm not sure where it'll lead us, but.
Yeah.
Chris, I think my prediction out of bio will be there'll be a lot more fearlessness. I think there's going to be a lot more fearlessness from a lot of the, echoing what Tita talked about, from a lot of these either small companies or more of a younger generation looking to provide new therapies, new opportunities to live quality lives, or to help patients live better lives. I think this is going to be a nice spark for a lot of those efforts at bio. It always is. It always is a way for collaborating or finding new opportunities for partnerships, or coming together to deliver better therapies and better medicines for the world. And I think it really does kind of show with what I've seen and what we've been seeing, even with some of those economic headwinds, people are starting to come out of that a little bit more aggressively. And I think this is going to be one of those sparks that we're going to see a little bit out of, with new companies either being born out of this, new partnerships can be born out of this, new manufacturing alliances may be born out of this, or even new acquisitions that may just upend the entire industry that we've seen it as a whole. So I see a lot of that fearlessness, where there won't be so much rigidity, and there's going to be a lot more risk taking coming in the next couple of months to a year.
That's great.
And I think
Steven, let's wrap it up. Your prediction for bio.
Yeah, so I'm a chemical engineer. I'm a nerd. We're gonna talk about gene therapy for a second. So I think we're in a new era for gene therapy. It used to be like 3% of the programs were in clinical. Now it's 30%. So we're in a completely different era. There's a massive misunderstanding, and a lot of people at bio are walking around with this misunderstanding. So this is a chance to get everyone to get educated of what is required in two critical areas. One of them, it's not just the gene and the vector and the transport, it's the delivery. When I'm talking about delivery, I'm talking about the delivery from the primary container to the patient.
Yep.
So instead of systemic IV delivery, where we're seeing clinical trials fail because of random hospital stock, the wrong tubing, too long of tubing, expired tubing, all these particles get stuck to the tubing. And of course, the PhD nucleic acid scientists are like, well, it's just mechanical engineering. No, it's not. There's a lot of things going on. And what's happening is these gene therapies are being targeted for specific organs: the heart, the pancreas, the brain, the eye, the cloaca. I mean, so you're going to deliver a gene therapy to the cloaca to restore hearing. It turns out one of the critical things is the dose delivery system, okay, that interacts with the actual product and the patient. And it's huge. And no one's talking about this. No one's prepared for it. Everyone in the world is going to know what a human factor study is. Everyone's going to know what Part 4 is all about for combination products, not just Kymanox. The next one is the renaissance of bioprocessing. We are not producing CMC packages or CMC data that's acceptable. So we just saw a complete response letter come out for gene therapy, and it wasn't due to the clinical package. The clinical package was amazing. It was the CMC package. So we're really far behind on characterization and analytical QC to basically assure product quality, which ultimately assures patient safety. And we're in like 1991 with where we were with MABs. In early 2000s, I was paying $1,000 an hour for a protein scientist. And people were like being educated about oxidation and dimers and glycosylation and all these different things. And now like everyone knows that. My 10-year-old at home understands that. That's where we're at today. So people are going to wake up and they're going to be quite sad when they get these rejection letters from the FDA and these other regulatory bodies because their CMC packages are weak due to not having control of bioprocessing. And the root cause of not having control of the bioprocessing is they don't have the characterization and analytical techniques nailed down. And so this is an area that I think is going to be, people are going to wake up at bio to this.
Well, we didn't do a deep introduction, but for those of people that don't know, Kymanox is the world leader in combination products and human factors. So I would trust a lot of what Steven says. He sees a lot across the world about what goes on. So that's a prediction that I'm looking forward to, maybe getting this group together at the end of the year and seeing who was right. And seeing
I like that idea there.
We all find we'll put some money to it.
Well,
but,
I love mine. Yeah, big enough.
but I think at the end of the day, like those are four really good, I think topics and predictions that I think people can now like listen out for, and hopefully go to the convention also thinking about a little differently. So I appreciate everybody really taking the time today to share it and do a little pre-bio buzz around what to expect and what we can get out of the convention this year.
Yeah, and we're so grateful, Tita, for your organization, PDA. It literally, it's like the friendly version of the FDA. And you guys are really helping the industry, all the technical reports, all the help that you provide the industry. You guys really need to be applauded. And I think really without PDA, like life science is just not nearly as good. So thank you.
Thanks for that. And thanks for that. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Well, I was going to just echo that because piggybacking on what Stephen was talking about there, a lot of the improvements and advancements in the quality and regulatory elements of these products really has been born out of the PDA and really having your task force, your workshops, trying to find better ways of improving how we manufacture, how we develop products and bring them to a patient really has been born from the PDA. So yeah, I wanted to just echo what Stephen was saying on that side.
No, thanks for that. And if anyone doesn't know, I mean, we are a collective group of the industry. We're a voice of the industry. So really it's if you're out there listening, you're a part of this and that's what PDA is. It's for this industry to try and move us forward to tackle these issues. And when you talked about bioprocessing and you talked about cell and gene therapy and you talked about, the delivery systems, I'm like, yes, and yes, because again, those are the issues that we get to talk about to move us out of 1990s into 2000s. So get involved, right? And whether it's our association or another, get involved because you actually do have a voice in this industry to make a difference. So thank you guys for saying that. And BioBuzz for putting us together. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, and Chris, big thanks to you and BioBuzz, everything that you're doing in the space, and just to bring us together. So I think I've seen you around in the space. We really never had a chance to meet. So then it was BioBuzz that brought us together, and I look forward to having a great professional networking relationship with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, I think you all talked about it today about partnerships, and the bio convention is all about bringing people together. And I think we've all learned, the four of us, knowing you all personally, how much happens when collisions of purpose, around collisions of purpose. And I think that's always been our approach at BioBuzz, is to help bring people together around purpose and make those collisions. So glad we could do that here today. And I look forward to, a couple weeks from now to hearing about what other collisions happen and which of these predictions are starting to come. But I've got a pen, it's already circled September on my calendar. So that's what I'm looking for, September coming out. And in the meantime, Summer, don't sleep on summer. Summer's hot. There's a lot of stuff that does happen in this industry at summertime. I tell my team that all the time. So coming out of bio, take Scott's advice, be prepared to go, but be prepared to take action when you come home, because you got a couple months before September hits. And that's when you lock in the partnerships, reap the rewards from bio, and like put yourself in position to really take that hockey stick in September.
That's great advice there, Chris.
Yeah.
And I look forward to the bet. We'll see who actually wins on that part. So it'd be great.
If anyone is right, I think we all win. So
exactly.
There you go.
Beer on me. How about that?
Yeah,
That'll be great.
I like that. All right, everybody. Well, I know we're all busy and you all doing important work. So let's get back to it and enjoy the bio convention. And we will all talk soon. Thank you all from BioBuzz, from Kymanox, from PDA. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right.
Thank
Bye,
you, Chris.
guys.
Thank you, Tita. Thanks, everybody online. Appreciate it.